Welcome to Bel Folks Stuff, an experimental podcast where I talk to interesting folks about really important stuff that they enjoy doing. Let's get started. Hey, it's time for yet another episode of the Bel Folks Stuff podcast. Tonight, I am joined by my good friend, Jaedia.
Hey.
How are you this evening?
I'm good. I just ate a yogurt, as we discussed.
Yeah, I feel like this intro is a complete and total lie, considering we've been on voice for, I don't know, a good 20 minutes chatting away.
Yeah. Oh well, it's cool. We can lie.
But at least I'm not lying about the time. It is literally evening for both of us. Well, it's actually early morning for you.
It's 3 minutes till midnight, so it's still evening.
Okay, awesome. Technicality.
Also, I've not slept yet.
Well, yeah, so it's still evening.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works. Like, to me, I consider it night until I've actually slept.
Yeah, me, pretty much. Until it gets to about 4 or 5 a.m, and then I'm sort of like, okay, no.
The other weird thing, and this is like complete tangent, and I don't understand how this works, but like, you don't feel like you need a shower until you've actually slept. Like, you can literally stay up all night long, and you'll feel like you don't need a shower. Yeah. And then, you know, as soon as you sleep, it's like, oh my god, I gotta get into the shower.
The worst thing is brushing your teeth, because it's sort of like, you've got to tell yourself, like, okay, just because you've not slept, you kind of need to go brush your teeth now.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's something about, like, the act of sleeping that somehow cements it as real in your head.
Yeah. I think it's just a psychological thing. Like, the moment you sleep, it's like, okay, cool, I've got to do that, and then I can sleep. So you don't. It's like, oh, okay.
There's been a couple times I've pulled all-nighters. Like, I've worked all night long, and I seemed to be fine until I actually, like, hit the sack, and then I felt horrible.
Oh god, it makes you feel so nauseous, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like you think you're okay until you sleep, and then you wake up and it's like this total sluggishness sets in that you just can barely move.
Nope, basically.
Yeah, it is a giant case of nopes.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you been up to lately? For the listeners that do not know you, you write a very awesome Dragons and Whimsy blog. And you're also regularly releasing content for MMOgames.com. So, other than those things, what have you been up to?
Other than those things, I not a lot really. I play video games in the evening. I sleep. Sometimes I eat. Yeah, I don't get up to much really.
You're also newly married, so
yeah, that's quite new.
It's been what, a month and a half? I think
2 months.
2 months.
Yep.
So, I guess the question is how... Has there been much of an adjustment?
No. We lived together for several years beforehand, so it wasn't too different.
Yeah, that was the way it was with my wife and I. Like, I think we lived together for 2.5 years, maybe, before we got married, and so it's like, we already knew each other's routines so well that there was a slight adjustment, mostly because... Like, we had legal documentation and we had to, you know, do things jointly all of a sudden.
The biggest adjustment for me is the fact that I have to change my signature. I don't like that.
Well, and that's a weird one, too, because, like, I guess cultures that take the last name are actually in the minority? My wife was telling me that the other day, like, and I don't know, like, that's just weird to me, because, like, I'm so used to the concept of... You know, you take the last name. And, I mean, I would have been fine had my wife chosen not to, but it was a weird concept.
I actually spent a few months contemplating, because my grandpa was always like, oh, well, because my dad was his only son, and my dad only had me, so that sounded really weird. I mean, I'm an only child.
Yeah.
So my grandpa was always like, oh, will you take... the family name on, and I was like, I really hate double-barreled names, so for a while I thought maybe I'll just keep my name just to, you know, whatever, but then I was like, well, I don't know, because it's kind of nice to take the name as well, so I ended up just going double-barreled, and I don't even like double-barreled names, but yeah.
Well,
keeps everyone happy.
For us, like, I mean, I'm a bad son anyway, because I don't plan on having children. So my last name is apparently dying with me.
Oh, wow.
So I've caught so much crap about my stance on not having children, because I am the last male Temple.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I'm a Richardson, so I'm sure there's other Richardsons in the world. I'm sure we'll be fine.
Yeah. So, what have you been playing lately?
Mostly Final Fantasy, really. I seem to be on before you get on, so I've not really been catching you, but I've been trying my hardest to sort of catch up before Heavensward comes out, because I'm still only level 40 on my highest level character.
We should totally run dungeons on the weekend to help catch up.
I've been trying to catch up on the story, to be honest, because I'm at the sort of level 30-ish point.
Yeah.
But I kind of try and do the roulettes, and then just get through my story while I'm doing that. And it's going pretty well like that now.
That's honestly like one of the bigger challenges that I've seen everyone have to go through is trying to stay caught up on the story, since that gates so much of the content.
It's frustrating, but it's really strange, because last night I was talking to Shannon and Ardua on Skype, and we were talking about how gated the Guild Wars 2 content feels, and to me, that is annoying. But in Final Fantasy, for some reason, it doesn't annoy me. It's just a part of the game. I don't know what the difference is, but...
Well, I think the difference is that, or at least for me, is I actually find myself looking forward to the next content as it comes, because the storyline is actually really good. And I don't know, like I felt like Guild Wars 2, for example, really didn't have much of a storyline at all. I mean, I played through some of the living story stuff, and I don't know if it either wasn't for me or whatever, but I never really could get into that. But this game, on the other hand, I can. People. What?
I think it's all the plant people. They just annoy me for some reason.
Yeah, I think that's part of it, and... I don't know, like, I feel like my biggest problem with Guild Wars 2 was the fact that there weren't really true quests through the world. Like,
that never bothered me. It's just because I always like the just going out there and exploring and stuff. It's when the living stories started going into the Scarlet Briar and stuff, and then it's just all thorns and poison and Sylvari everywhere, and I'm like, nah.
I tell you, the area that almost killed me, though, was Maguma. The areas around Maguma. Like, I don't care about swamps and dead people in the swamp.
No. The Temple of Ore, that sort of area where you got the Risen and...
Yep.
Nah.
Yeah, it was just annoying to me. Like, it was constant swamp and undead all around you, and... It didn't even feel like they were really cool undead, per se. Like, I normally like slaying zombies as much as the next person, but they just felt like these weird mossy zombies.
It's not even that. They're, like, covered in algae, because they've all come from under the water.
Right. They're like bloated corpses, is what they remind me of, and it's like... I think
that's what it is. In WoW, the Naga, I can't stand them either. I think it's just an underwater thing. I don't like that sort of content.
Maybe. Underwater content is always difficult because it by default has to function on the Z-axis as well. And I've been leery of it ever since EverQuest, like the original EverQuest, because there was this place called Kedge Keep, and it was a zone full of aqua goblins and mermen and all manner of underwatery things, but there were problems where if you pulled it just the wrong way, you could end up getting everything stacked on top of you and just pull the entire zone. And ever since then, I've just been leery of any kind of Z-axis combat.
Well, I don't like that either, but I don't like deep water in real life either, so I think it's sort of a strange thing with me.
Water is kind of freaky, because when we went to Cozumel in Mexico, we went down in a submarine, and they went off to the edge of the continental shelf, and it was just so weird looking off into like this abyss. There was nothing there, and it was just this blackness that continued on forever.
Oh, no. That freaks me out just thinking about it.
Like, the thing for me is, like, I can do depth just fine because I know there's a bottom. It's platforming over top of, like, high spaces. It messes with my, sense of vertigo.
Yeah. I can't do heights. I can't do depths. I need to know where
You need to be able to see the ground.
Yeah. I like the ground, but not at a fast pace.
Like, one of the weird things that I've learned from gaming is that I think if I had my druthers, I would build a house underground.
Yeah.
Because, like, in Minecraft, I always build my bases underground. Like, they will be like a tunnel that goes into the earth, and everything is underground. And, like, I feel just comfortable down there.
Like a dwarf.
Yeah, I am absolutely a dwarf. I'm just too tall to be one.
Well,
I could go for a hobbit hole, though.
Yeah, I like sort of cave systems and stuff. It's just, I don't know, underground isn't so bad. It's literally deep water and heights. Just
I always get freaked out, like, when I'm on a huge lake or something, because, like, I don't know what's underneath me.
Yeah. Well, I've never really been on a huge lake. It's more the ocean thing.
We have these huge man-made lakes here in Oklahoma, and so after the Dust Bowl era, there was the whole public works project to build all these dams to try and irrigate the wasteland after, all the topsoil blew away. And they're huge. Some of them are just like hundreds of feet deep, which is, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, not that deep, but they've been there for a while, and apparently the catfish on the bottom of these lakes are so huge that the Army Corps divers, when they go down, will not go down without a shark cage.
Oh, God.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy. So, it kind of bugs me to go swimming in these big lakes.
Yeah, no, I don't think I'd go near them. I found a really big woodlouse in the bathroom earlier, and I had to put it outside in a toilet paper tube because I wouldn't touch it. I don't think I could go near a giant catfish.
I don't even know what a woodlouse is.
It's very boring, but I hate them.
Okay.
I'll find you a picture, but...
Okay.
Yeah. Louses that live in wood.
Okay. So one of the things I find funny about Bel Folks Stuff is the fact that I have had... I think you're the third Brit.
Mm-hmm.
I've had Syl, who's from Switzerland, and then I've had an American and a Canadian. So the Brits are definitely winning.
Woohoo! For some reason, people keep calling me Welsh just because I live here.
Well, I said that the other day, but I knew that wasn't the case. I was like, you live in Wales?
I was stopping to take a drink then and nearly spat it out. That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've only lived here for I think it's been about 3 years now. 2 or 3 years. So, according to Shannon, you're not an expat. Well, you're not a part of that culture until you've been there for 5 years, so I'm still English.
Okay. But after 5 years, you became Welsh.
No.
Either that or you're going to move.
I like that idea.
Okay. So, one of the things I like to do is play, 6 Degrees of Belgast.
Okay.
I have no idea how we know each other. Like, I have my suspicion is through the WoW blogging community, but...
Yeah.
But past that, I don't know. Like, I have no idea how we... Like, it feels like we have always been friends.
It has been a few years. It was mostly through Twitter, because I think it was around the time you didn't blog very much.
Yeah.
So I remember getting a DM from you once going, I won't talk to you too much in case my friend bothers you or something. I was like, okay. I have no idea what that was about, but that's one of my earliest memories of one of our conversations.
Yeah, because, at the time I had a friend that anyone I talked to, he would start messaging. And it was like a real-life friend that was trying to break into the Twitter sphere, but he just ended up pestering people more than anything.
Uh-huh.
So
is he still around?
No, not really, not anymore.
That worked then.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, no, I think we were both, because at that point I would have been a WoW blogger still. Or maybe even a book blogger at that point, I don't know.
Well, you had the book blog for a long time. Or at least yeah. I always remember you having both the WoW and the book blog.
Oh god, that was horrible. I kept sort of switching between the two, which is how Dragons and Whimsy ended up coming to be, because I was just like, nope, I've had enough of that.
Well, you would have moments of really active on the book blog for a few weeks, and then you'd flip back and you were maybe active on the WoW blog again. And did you have a third blog in there too?
I had 5.
Oh my god.
There's a reason when somebody says, "Oh, I'm thinking about starting another blog," I'm going, no, don't do it.
Yeah, you were very compartmentalized.
Yeah, I read posts saying, find your niche and don't go out of it, else people won't care and they don't want to read that. It's like, oh, okay.
Well,
better not do that then. And then I was hang on.
In all honesty, that is a truthful statement. People don't want to know about things that aren't in the very narrow spectrum that they care about. But from the same standpoint, you gotta be you. You have to do whatever, you actually enjoy. And I have to think that the people that, really matter are going to stick with you regardless.
Yeah, that's why I ended up just going, no, sod it, they're gone. I feel a bit bad because I really did have a lot of years put into both my gaming blog and my book blog, and I'd only just sort of redone the design on my book blog as well, but it came to a point and I was like, I'm getting really tired of switching between these blogs because I've got 2 separate readerships there, and if they want to read something from me, then I'd rather them be able to find it rather than just go, oh, she's not blogging anymore,
Right.
So I just went, no, okay, I'm just going to merge it all and no more of that. And I've got the different categories, so if somebody only wants to read stuff about my book, I know I'm not talking about books much at the moment, but if somebody only wants to read that, they can just look at that category and so on. So I do use multi-categories so that people can do that, but it just got too much. It was silly.
I wish I had actually stuck to some kind of semblance of a viable category scheme. Because mine are all over the friggin' place. There's a bunch of categories that I will put most posts in, and yeah, it doesn't work at all. It's basically a second tagging system.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I use it for, but tags are a bit more individualized. Sometimes I go a bit nuts on the tags, but that's alright.
With the AgriChat website, I've actually, kind of reined in the categories, and they all make logical sense. They're what the post is kind of categories, and I'm kind of jealous, on that site of the way it's arranged versus the colossal mess that Agronaut is.
Well, because Jaedia's Menagerie, my gaming blog originally, it went from being a WoW blog to an MMO blog to a gaming blog to a whatever, and my categories ended up sort of devolving over time because originally it was a WoW Hunter blog, so it was all sort of, this is a PvE guide and this is a PvP guide, and then so eventually I was like, okay, well, I'm now playing a Shadow Priest, so I need to start sort of making it a bit more generalised. And then I stopped playing WoW, and I was like, well, now I've got all these WoW categories, so I guess I'll just categorise by game, and I don't know, it just got a bit out of hand.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, though, because, I think you had a similar evolution path than I did, because, my blog wasn't just a WoW blog, it was a warrior tanking blog. It was a super niche within a niche.
Yeah.
And then I stepped back and kind of made it a generic tanking blog when I realized that warrior tanking as a blog wasn't sustainable for me.
Yeah.
And then I think I stepped back again and made it a generic WoW blog. And then I quit WoW and I made it a Rift blog for a while before finally saying screw it and general gaming.
Yeah. But you talk a lot about sort of your personal life and stuff as well, so...
Yeah, that was more something that came in when I started doing the blog every day thing, because I realized there's gonna be days that I don't have anything gamey to talk about.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I think it can be more interesting to hear what's going on in somebody's life if you care about that person and what they've got to say and the sort of things they talk about. Sometimes it is more interesting.
Well, and honestly, like when I started doing the daily blogging thing, like one of the missions that I kind of set out was to be more real, because like I had always tried to keep my game life and my real life at arm's length of each other.
Mm.
And I've always like kept that separation, and in part it's because, you know, for my age, gaming is still not really an accepted hobby. Like it's not something that people talk about. Like I have lots of geeky friends and I have lots of gamer friends, but it's not something that, you know, people readily admit to. And additionally, like, you know, my wife is a school teacher, which is kind of a twitchy profession anyway, and I didn't want anything I said to negatively reflect upon her.
Mm.
So, a combination of the two, I always kind of kept guarded about myself. And since doing the daily blogging thing, I've opened up significantly, and, you know, I share way more information about my life than I ever expected to.
Yeah, I've never had that sort of closed off sort of thing though with me. I mean, originally I was working in retail, and I was like, well, they might look, so as long as I'm not saying anything horrible, which I wouldn't anyway, but as long as it's just me and sort of that kind of thing, then they probably wouldn't care. And then, like, now I'm writing for MMO games, and it's sort of like, well, I still wouldn't write anything that they wouldn't necessarily approve of, because I'm not that kind of person. But I've never been the sort of person to completely shut myself off. I'm quite happy to sort of say, this is what's going on in my life, and this is what's going on in my games, and yeah, it's one and the same. That's it. That's me.
It was really uncomfortable for me at first because, you know, like, in general, I'm a fairly guarded person. Like, even to other people. Like, I mean, folks I know in real life. I'm kind of, I don't know, guarded about me. So it was weird. Like, and I think it's cool when people don't have any inhibitions like that, but...
Yeah, it's something I've had to teach myself, but it's good because obviously I talk quite readily that I do have trouble with sort of depression, anxiety sometimes, and I find being open about it helps it more than anything, really.
Yeah, because, like, I don't know, until I started opening up about my life, I was always concerned that, you know, people would just freak out, like, you know, that they wouldn't want to still be around me, and somehow, like, I suffer from a horrible case of, like, imposter syndrome. So, like, I feel like nothing I do is really important.
Which is silly.
Yeah, so it's like, but people have been really chill about it. Like, people have given me more confidence than I probably ever would have had on my own, just because it's weird to find out that people are actually consuming the content you create and looking forward to more of it.
Yeah, and it's also cool when you do open up about something, people tend to go, oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, and that was like, it makes you feel like you're not quite as alone as you think you are.
Yeah, because, well, I was talking to somebody on Twitter earlier, and they're going, oh, I've not got anything figured out. I'll never have my life figured out. It's like, well, do you know what? I don't think anyone ever does. It's just kind of how life is. You get to a certain age, you go, oh, right, no one knows what they're doing. Great. Just dive in head first and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty much just winging it.
Yeah, pretty much. It works.
Well, and you and I have talked about the whole fake it until you make it thing, and really, at least as far as my happiness goes, that has definitely been a thing. Like, pretending to be happy has actually made me more happy than I realize.
I also find it quite nice sort of helping other people if they're having troubles, just like letting them talk, and it's nice to know that something you say or do can have an impact on someone's life like that.
And you have always been really thoughtful and willing to listen to anyone that's had issues.
Oh, you make
and that's always been a very awesome trait of yours.
I just like to help. I don't like seeing people, you know, suffering and stuff. Not that I don't think anyone really does, but...
Well, the thing is like, the weird thing with the internet is that immediately people will think, oh, you can't trust anything that anyone says online. But in truth, my experience has been that most people are a truer version of themselves online. They're a lot of times the person they aspire to be.
Yeah. But sometimes you do... I've had it both ways, where sometimes you get people who come across as being really cool and sort of fun to be around, and then they just sort of switch flips and they go crazy and are like, oh, run.
Yeah, I've encountered that a couple times, but thankfully that's been the exception rather than the rule. But those exceptions are pretty frustrating when they do happen.
Yeah, it's why I don't have very fond memories from Wrath of the Lich King.
I think that had that effect on a lot of people. Like, honestly, Wrath was not a good expansion for me. Like, mental health-wise, I was on a bit of a downward spiral through all of that stuff, and I know I freaked from some of my friends out, and I'm amazed that they are still around with me. Like, a while back I wrote about the infamous bunny incident, and I guess I literally freaked people out, when I went into this yelling fit over something that happened in a raid. But that expansion wasn't good for... It's weird, because that expansion was really good in some ways, but in other ways it just seemed like it was the end of the days of milk and honey, and we knew it, and it felt like we were desperately trying to cling on to something that was slipping away.
Yeah, the game was changing a lot, and that was... How old would I have been then? Early 20s, so I guess I was still sort of in the working out what I'm doing and who I am and stuff sort of period of my life. So combine that with all that, I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I don't know, I got into blogging, and that was when they had Single Abstract Noun, the Bloggers Guild. If you remember that.
Vaguely.
That was really cool. That was Tam from Righteous Orbs and Miss Medicina. I can't remember her blog, but she did the...
I remember the name, but I don't remember the blog.
I mostly remember the Twitter icon. That was very distinctive.
Yeah. One of the weird things is thinking about just how many blogs aren't around anymore.
Yeah, but also in the same breath, some people have sort of stuck around, and you know that they're, solid, and others have come and gone, and we've got new people, which are also cool.
I was, I forget whose blog I was going through, but it was a long dead blog, but the blog roll was still there. Yeah. And I saw so many names on that blog roll that I didn't even remember until I saw the name. Like people like Sinwise, for example, that were, He
only very recently left Twitter, I think. I think it was end of last year when the all the sort of inequality stuff started coming around World of Warcraft. And that's around the time he went, right, I'm out.
I know he's got a private account that I don't follow, but I've seen retweets from. But still, Sinwise was like a pillar of the community, and there were several people like that just aren't around anymore.
Yeah, Pink Pigtails.
That may have been the blog I was at, because I think that blog is still active.
Yeah, I think she just...
And every so often I go there just to I don't know, because I'm bummed that it's gone.
Oh, somebody came by on my blog the other day. It was on my... What was it? That award thing, the Leibster thing that everyone was doing a while ago. And I mentioned Tam in that post or something, and someone came by and said, oh, I just found this blog and it's still up. And I didn't know. Apparently him and the guy who ran Righteous Orbs with had their own blogs before they did Righteous Orbs. And Tam's original blog is still around, so you can still sort of go back through all his old posts. And I was like, this is amazing. So that was cool. It's called In My Sissy Robe or something.
Yeah. I forget the exact name, but I know which blog you're talking about.
Yes, so I had a nice little fun time.
It's like standing in my sissy robe or DPSing in my sissy robe or something like that.
At the back in my sissy robe. Or...
Yeah, I think that was it.
Yeah, but that was a nice little look down there. I missed Ham. He was just so good at writing. I struggle with long posts, but they were some that I could sit there and read happily.
Well, and I don't know, it feels like it was just such a weird time in the blogosphere. Because, like, everywhere you looked, there was this new epic blog springing up to life.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we still see a lot of bloggers starting, but not maybe with the same purpose and the same magnitude that blogs started back then. It's just
changed. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's dying, but it's not as popular as it was because now people want to do YouTube and streaming, and some people just can't be bothered and will just be quite happy to sit around on Twitter, and that's fine as well.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's, strange.
I don't know. Like, I feel like this is probably an artifact of my age, but YouTube is nice, but I would rather not acquire information from YouTube.
No, I don't. I don't like listening quite so much. I don't take the information in, which is why as I said, I'm quite bad with podcasts. If I'm sat around doing stuff, I struggle with listening. So I like to read, so I can sort of go at my own pace and sort of go through things. So watching on YouTube doesn't appeal to me, really.
Well, and I guess my thing is like, I can skim an article that is written about a subject I'm interested in and glean the gist of the article in a few seconds, and then narrow in on the parts I really care about and spend a couple more minutes, reading those sections. Mm-hmm. Whereas someone will release a 5-minute video, and essentially I have to sit through the entire video to get all of that information that I could in just a few seconds of reading. And so I don't know.
The only one that sometimes looks through the comments to see where someone goes, oh my god, the bit at X time was awesome, so I can just skip ahead to the good bit.
No. Honestly, probably the only YouTuber that I will regularly watch the entire video of is Kelrick. Yeah. And I just think she does a really good job, production-wise, of by herself condensing down the information to where every second is valuable instead of a bunch of extra information. I've
only recently discovered her because I've not been that big in the WoW community for the past few years, but I did watch her video on the flying subject last week, and that was like an hour-long video, and I sat through the whole thing. I was quite surprised at myself.
Yeah.
But I do like some of, I like Markiplier because he's very funny, but it's more sort of just the entertainers rather than the informers, unless I particularly need a guide, and it's only on YouTube, which is a big thing in the Rift community, I noticed.
Yeah, which is frustrating to me because, like, I would love to be able to follow some really good Rift blogs, but the blogs seem to just link back to a YouTube channel.
Yeah. I do follow some of them. I mean, Intim is fantastic, and Kiwi doesn't really blog at the moment, but there's a couple of people in the Rift community that are just brilliant, so I don't mind sort of following them, but I don't watch regularly.
Yeah, I'll tune into the occasional Kiwi stream, but she's probably the only person that I actually really regularly watch in the Rift community.
Yeah, well, I don't think she's been streaming much lately, but I do occasionally. I watch Intim on stream more than anything, and there's another guy I came across called Worrisome Fool. He's very new, but he's got quite this laid back attitude rather than, because a lot of streamers are just so focused on competitive PvP and let's get hyped, and I can't be bothered with all that. But he's just sort of sat there having a chat, and it's cool.
I tell you, the problem I have with Rift is that I play so irregularly that it seems like every time I come back, I have to relearn how to play my class.
Yeah, they're so in-depth, aren't they?
Well, and they change so regularly, so what was the good spec for soloing? You come back and it's a horrible spec.
Well, thankfully I play mage, so generally it's like, for a while it was like, oh yeah, just play Harbinger, and it's like, okay, cool. And then they added Arbiter, which was the tank class, and it's like, yeah, just play the tank class. It's like, okay, cool. So I just do that, and it works, and it's cool.
Warrior always seems to be all over the place.
Yeah, DPS-wise mages, but solo-wise, it's fine. But I think it's Pyro at the moment, but I don't, because it's always changing. Sometimes it's Warlock, sometimes it's Harbinger, sometimes it's Pyro, sometimes it's Stormcaller. I just go in guild and I go, what's the mage spec now? And they're like, meh.
PK dude, got her in FC.
Yeah.
He is normally the person who will supply me with a really good spec. Like, I'll post on the blog talking about playing Rift, and next thing I know, he'll have a comment with, like, this is the spec you should try. So, a lot of times I'll just follow that guide.
So that's who I need to poke when I get confused.
Absolutely. Like, I don't know how much he plays now, but he is willing to do way more research to play a game than I will.
Yeah. I won't lie, I might just sort of poke Kiwi or even the guy at Riftgate, Cortish, or Intim, and just go, what should I play? Help.
I honestly just found Riftgate this week. So I did not know about that blog. That's a pretty cool blog.
It's really good. He's so thorough, and it's just I love it. I use it as a news source sometimes as well, because I'm just like, right, okay, what's going on in Rift news? Let's go over to Riftgate. Okay, nothing much.
It reminds me a lot of Dolphy is for GW2 / SWTOR.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, I love Dolphy. She's brilliant. But yeah, no, it kind of reminds me of around sort of Wrath time. There were several WoW blogs that were, obviously there was MMO Champion and there was the then WoW.com, and there was another one that I always used to go to, and it reminds me of that one, it was kind of similar to MMO Champion, but it was a lot. Sometimes MMO Champion got a bit, they towed the line a bit, and Blizzard were a bit like, well, you stop doing that.
Yeah.
But this other one never really did that, so I always felt more comfortable going to it, but I can't remember what it was now, because they closed down. You know the one I mean, don't you?
No, actually I don't, because the only things I can think of right now are Wowhead and MMO Champion, but those have been the main sites for a very, very long time.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Blu-ray and HD fights and all the VHS and stuff. Eventually something just wins out, and this time it was MMO Champion. Everyone just went there.
Yeah.
Wowhead are doing pretty good these days, I suppose.
I think they still have the best database of information, but one of my problems with ZAM has been that Wowhead they do an excellent job with, but none of the other Wowhead-like sites are anywhere near as updated. And XIVDB, for example, has a lot of slightly erroneous information out there because something got changed in a patch, and it didn't necessarily get harvested to overwrite the current information.
I didn't know that existed. I just used Gamerscape.
Yeah, xivdb.com is basically Wowhead for Final Fantasy XIV.
I've seen a few, but I tried following just the main ZAM site, and I don't know, I don't enjoy it that much.
Rifthead is the one that is the most out of date, because you'll go out there.
I forgot that existed.
Yeah, and that one is actually, I think it may even just redirect to Magello now.
Yeah, that only lasted for a couple of months, didn't it?
It was around for a very long time, because I know coming back with Storm Legion, I was using Rift Head for information.
Mm.
But, I mean, Storm Legion is several years ago.
Yeah. No, I usually just Google because there isn't a database for Rift now. So you usually just find the information either RiftGrate or Reddit or the forums. Because it's annoying because I like to collect pets and there isn't a database for me to find out what's available.
And that was always one of the frustrations playing Rift, is it's this great game and it's this great community, but there's not a lot of infrastructure supporting it. At least not the way WoW or even Final Fantasy XIV have.
I suppose it's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes people are sort of going, oh, I wish for the EverQuest days when you had to explore to find the information, and I suppose you kind of have that with Rift.
Yeah, the only problem with the Rift that I've seen so far is, especially with the new Nightmare Tide content, there's a lot of quests that are just flat out bugged. Even to this day, because I made a push, I don't know, about a month ago to try and get to 60. Mm-hmm. And there were 3 quests that I had gotten from before that were still bugged out, and I finally was able to find some notice on a site saying, these coordinates, this one is the only one that's not bugged out.
Yeah, it takes some Googling sometimes. But yeah, no, I got to 60 not long after the game went for free to play, but I'm still not 65. I'm trying, but...
I guess that was the push I was making, was to 65, not to 60, but...
Yeah.
Because I am, I guess, already 60.
Yeah. Sometimes I just like to go and hunt artifacts.
I keep telling myself one of these days I am going to have a housing weekend, because I have so much housing stuff.
Oh, yes. I got halfway through building one, and I'd spent so much time on the entrance, and I was so proud of myself, but I've not really done much with the rest of it. You'll have to come and see it sometime.
I need to create a character on the EU shard.
Yeah. It's quite cool just to hop around. I've got one in your guild, I think.
Yeah, you do. Because you were around when we were really active there for a while, and Ray was building our guild hall.
Yeah, I did. I took a look at that, I remember, but I only got to, level 7. And then I went back to my EU character, who was, level 50. So I was like, I want to go and play around with my mage a bit.
Yeah, I remember I've got, a screenshot of us all sitting in the makeshift hot tub.
But yeah, no, I found a guild on the EU servers, which is actually where I met Missy and Simmy.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
It seems like the EU shards are more active or more stable population-wise than the US shards.
No, I do see a lot of people that play around on the US shards, particularly sort of Fablight and one of the others I can't remember the name of. Lathis or something?
Yeah, Lathis.
Yeah.
I'm actually on Fablight myself, but...
Yeah. I'm on Galidra. I get confused between my Rift Shard and my Guild Wars 2 server because they're both Gs. But most people seem to be on Xaviel on EU.
At least in GW2, the shard you're on doesn't quite matter as much.
No. Because, yesterday when it was the Guild Wars 2 beta, I was playing around with Shannon and Ardua, and they're on Pecan Square. I'm not, but we were still playing around together, and it's good that you can do that. In fact, my guild isn't on my server either, but I still do missions and stuff with them fine.
The sad thing is I can't even remember what server I'm on in Guild Wars 2, since it hasn't really mattered that much.
I checked purely for World v World, but even that doesn't matter so much now that they removed map completion from it. But yeah.
Well, we've been chatting for a bit. There's 2 questions that I like to ask everybody that I have on Bel Folks Stuff.
I've not killed any walkers.
Does that mean you're a Walking Dead fan?
A little bit. I don't know why, my brain just suddenly jumped to the 3 questions.
That's funny. We have a big group of people at work that all watch Walking Dead, so, it's kind of a religious time that we watch it, and without it on Sunday nights, I'm not exactly sure what to do with myself.
No, I love it. I also like Supernatural, and that finished, and now I'm just like,
I need to start Supernatural. Like, I guess at one point I got about 6 episodes in.
It's one of those that gets better in the second season.
Like, it was enjoyable enough to me. Like, and I've always thought the whole Winchester family thing and the supposed ties to the spiritual world was interesting. So at some point I'll sit down and watch it. It's just, honestly, that might be a decent thing to do this weekend while crafting.
Yes.
Because I am so far into the crafting black hole, it's not even funny.
I've not been near it.
The only way out is through.
Yeah, but I've got to get to 50, and I've got to get the story done. No crafting.
Yeah, I would avoid it like the plague until you at least have 1, maybe 2 characters to 50.
Yeah, Black Mage next.
Like, I wasn't willing to start it until I had 1 of every role. Because I knew as soon as I started it, that would be it for me. And that's all I've done for the last 2 weeks is craft, really.
Maybe that's why I've not seen you. You've been around, but...
Yeah, like, I've been around, but I've been mostly in my own little world pressing buttons.
Sounds like a game.
It is a game. It is oddly enjoyable. I don't know why.
I mentioned I enjoy running around picking up shiny things in Rift, didn't I?
That was so addictive, and
no reason why. It
has
no purpose. It's grindy, but I love it. At least crafting has a purpose.
Yeah. Mostly I want to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
I would like to be able to craft my own glamour prisms and repair my own gear, you know, and when somebody comes into the guild and they need gear, it would be nice to be able to knock out a set of gear for them.
Well, I can just, like, give you a poke and go, can you make something for me? I'll send you the mats. And you'll go, yep. And I'll be like, cool.
Yeah, and we have so many people that have 50s of every class.
Yeah. We've got some crazy people. I love them.
It's like there's a special kind of insanity with Final Fantasy XIV, and it's amazing. Like I've not felt this attached to a game in a very, very, very long time.
I've noticed.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, did I mention I got my fat chocobo hatchling yesterday?
No, that is awesome. Isn't it adorable?
It is. All right.
It just butt hops around.
I know, and I got the jackpot and the cat pot. I was like, yes. How many have I got now? I can get a pet. Yes, time. It's time. So.
The kitten is really cute too. It's like a slightly different kitten.
Yeah, I'm okay with the other one, but it's the fat cat I really want.
Yeah. It's that might be the only reason why I ever level fishing, because I don't know if you know the grind that's involved with getting that thing.
I've heard. I researched. I was like, right, that is a thing I need in my life. It is the best thing ever. I made insane girly giggly sounds, and I need it. And yeah, so I did give it a good Google. Yeah,
it is the nichiest of niche things, and there's a reason why it's 2 to 3 million gil.
I will have it.
Yeah, like I feel like I'm under this pressure to level crafting before the expansion, and I know there's no way in hell I can hit it because the expansion's only like 20 days away.
Some of us can't even enter the expansion. Be happy.
You'll get there.
Yeah.
I have every faith. So you have some of the best story ahead of you.
Okay. I've not had it spoiled for me yet.
We have been really trying not to. Like, seriously. That's the other thing I love about the community is we all think the story's good. It's not like in WoW, for example, or in other games, there's always a group of people that don't care about the story at all.
Yeah.
And they are more than happy to spoil everyone else's day, you know, and...
Or the people that don't care that other people don't want spoilers.
Right, yes.
Those people.
This community as a whole seems to be really respecting of the importance of this story. Yeah.
But that's a big thing for me. I think stories are like my thing, because obviously I'm a reader. I like watching TV shows. I'm not too big on movies actually, but so I like to know the story, and it's important that I can experience that myself. So like in Guild Wars 2, I know what happens at the end of season 2. I don't want to, but it's been talked about that readily. But in Final Fantasy, I don't know, and it's great.
Well, honestly, they spoiled the end of Season 2 in the announcement trailer at PAX South when they announced Heart of Thorns. They absolutely 100% spoiled it. And I'm like, okay, now what's the point of me playing through it now that I know how it's going to end?
Exactly, and it kind of put me off. I'm not even kidding. I found out what happened, and I was like, do you know what? I suddenly don't care, because why do I want to get to that point when I know what happens?
Well, and that was a difference when they released the extended trailer for Heavensward, for example. They put a big disclaimer on the front of it saying, this is going to spoil some of the events that happen at the end of the expansion.
Yeah, so I didn't watch it. And
right. So it gave you warning. And when we did our big show about the trailer, we wanted to make sure that, okay, guys, tune in another week, because unless you've played through this content, you do not want to listen to this show.
Yeah, and it's really cool that people actually do tag it, so I sort of go, oh, okay, that spoils the story, so I won't bother listening to that.
And I know you've to some extent used me as a buffer occasionally.
Yeah.
To give you spoiler-free information.
Yeah. It's like, am I okay to look at that? No. Okay, cool. I'll wait.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So, 2 questions.
Yes.
Because tangents happen. So, the first question I always ask people is, what are you afraid of? And you can place that in any context. You can place that in gaming terms or in reality terms. And I know to some extent you already talked about one of your fears. But
2, technically.
Well, yeah, 2. And it's it's purposely a broad question, because you can place that in any context you want.
Okay. Well, I won't go too deep, so I'm going to go quiet for a minute while I ponder this one.
Okay.
That's a hard question. I'm one of those people, I'm scared of stuff, but I don't really have phobias that I can think of. I was pretty scared of the giant woodlouse last night, but that's not my answer.
Okay. You can take a pass on this if you don't have a fear that you want to talk about, since you did mention 2 fears already today.
I did, so technically I'm well above board.
Yes, you are.
No pun intended. Let's go with earwigs, they're horrible.
Okay.
Pincers, and they have no purpose, and they're wriggly, and I hate them.
That I know what it is, but we don't actually have them here that I know of.
They're disgusting. I'm fine with spiders, but put an earwig near me and I'm gone.
Alright. Yeah, here we have brown recluse spiders, and I'm far more concerned about them than anything.
Yeah, our spiders aren't dangerous, so I don't have to be scared of them. If they're quite big, then I'm a bit like, oh look, that's a spider, I'm gonna not go near that, but I'm not scared of it.
Well, brown recluses are tiny, tiny, tiny spiders, and you cannot feel them biting you. And there's a negative necrosis reaction that happens at the spot of the bite. Yeah, so it is a terrifying thing, and they're all over houses.
Yeah, that would scare me. Earlier I went in the bathroom and I don't know why, I had this sudden insane fear there would be a giant spider just sitting there waiting for me, but obviously that is ridiculous. Dan is laughing at me.
Okay, so the counterpoint of this question is what gives you hope? And you can place that in any context as well.
Oh, that's hard as well, because I could answer that in so many ways. Lots of things. People to be generic.
Okay.
Because as much as they can really sort of put you down sometimes, they can really bring you up as well. But I don't know, it's stuff like... Did you hear about the kid that was... they said, oh, you can be Batman for the day, and... Did you hear about that? Things like that, and it's just like, do you know what, that just makes you happy that people like that exist, and they're not all bad. And
I'd like to think there's more good in the world than there's bad.
I definitely think there is. I just think some people are misguided or even closed-minded, but I don't think they're bad. And even that gives me hope. But mostly it's sort of looking at all sorts of different people. Mostly it's people that are older than me and seeing that everybody isn't, they're not, at the core, everybody is the same. Everybody fears something. Everybody struggles and doesn't know what they're doing, but everybody gets on with it and finds a way to enjoy life, and that in itself is something that gives you hope.
Excellent.
That's a better answer than earwigs.
It's nicely done. Well, I think we're going to wrap things up then. Why don't you once again let people know where they can find your stuff?
Okie dokie. Well, I write quite regularly at mmogames.com, and I'm most active on Twitter at Jaedia, which is, you can probably guess how it's spelled. And I'm also occasionally blogging at dragonsandwhimsy.jaedia.net.
Excellent. Well, I enjoyed sitting down and having this conversation, and hopefully you did as well.
I did indeed.
And that is another episode of Bel Folks Stuff, and we will hopefully get another one out next month. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show and have an awesome evening. Good night!
Bye! 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 Bye!